Hello everyone, thanks for joining. First of all, I would like to take a moment to thank Dr. Smith for providing me this opportunity to showcase my project in one of his guest lectures. Thank you, Dr. Smith. Now, let's dive into this topic. Let me share my screen now. So, my topic is regarding customer segmentation using RFM variables. The problem statement here is in digital world, in any businesses you take, there are a lot of competitors around. So it's important for your business to stand unique from your competitors in terms of quality and customer satisfaction and service. Well, it's a proven fact that in any retail, majority of their business revenue comes from 20% of their valuable customers. Hence, to keep the company's performance and find ways to improve their revenue, it is important for stakeholders to identify the best set of customers and identify their least favorable customers. In a way, they could target their customers to improve their performance and forecast their business overall. So my proposed system in this project is segmenting your customers based on the attributes which they share similarly. For example, in any business, it's important to satisfy your customers, but there are times where some set of customers won't be entirely satisfied with your business. Some customers might be dissatisfied with the quality of the product. Some set of customers would be dissatisfied with the pricing. Some customers will be dissatisfied with the service, but you never know because each and every customer has their own attributes of dissatisfaction. So it's important to segment those customers into separate groups so that this will help the company to target those customers and make the customers satisfied by identifying their needs and making them satisfied. So in my project, I've used some of the widely used clustering techniques known as the k-means clustering, hierarchical clustering, and some of the variable clustering such as Clara, Fana as well. So the data source which I've used in this project is basically about the customer transactional data from an online store. So the data consists of 54,000 records and 8 attributes. The attributes include the invoice number, the stock code, the product description, the quantity, and the date of purchase, which is the invoice date, and the unit price for a single product, and the customer ID followed by the country. So this is the project pipeline which I've used, which I've followed throughout this project. These are the different phases I've implemented throughout my project life cycle. The first phase is the data pre-processing, followed by the variable creation and computation, and the exploratory data analysis, and the data normalization and scaling, and the model training evaluation. So I'm going to break it one by one in the coming slides. So the first phase is the data pre-processing. So the data pre-processing stage involves removing the missing values and the null values and any negative values as well. Since this data deals with the customer transactional data, it is important to remove the data which has null records or missing values or any sort of negative values because we can't assume any record by imputing the missing values. So what I've implemented here is I remove the records which has null values and missing values and negative values as well. Next comes as the RFM variable computation. So this is the main attributes which I've used in this project. So what is RFM variable? RFM stands for recency, frequency, and monitoring. So recency is nothing but how recent your customer visited your store. So, and frequency is nothing but how often your customer visited the store. And followed by monetary, which is nothing but the how much amount your customer spent in day to day in your store. So this data is fetched around during the calendar year 2011. So what I did is like I've kept a static date of 2012 so that I subtracted each and every visit of each and every last visit of every customer to fetch the recency date, to fetch the recency value. And frequency is nothing but number of times the customer visited. And monetary is like I group the customers and sum their overall amount spent throughout the calendar year. So this is how I arrived at the recency, frequency, and monetary values. So the table here, I grouped the data based on customers and their respective recency, frequency, and monetary. So the next phase is the exploratory data analysis. In any machine learning model, it's important to explore your data and find out the distribution and the correlation between the feature variables. So what I did is like I grouped the entire data and found the distribution of number of purchases which is happened throughout the calendar year 2011. I've used spot plot to visualize its distribution. So what I figured out here is like at the start of the year, the number of purchases tend to increase, followed by the the number of purchases tends to drops down drastically, and followed by a steady increase around October until December. My insight here is like maybe during these times the store offered a lot of discounts and offers, so the customers tend to visit a lot and fetch a lot of products from the store. My guess is like maybe this set of time will be the Thanksgiving break and Black Friday offer. So maybe customers tend to buy more during this range of dates. That's what my insight in this distribution. So that is basically because of the discounts and offers the any store provides during the period. So next set is the next plot is the visualizing the relationship between the primary attributes. So I've used a scatter plot here to find the different combination of relationship between the three primary attributes. So first set of plot is the scatter plot between the recency and monetary. What I observe here is like there's a negative correlation between the recency and monetary. As you can see, when the recency tends to increase, the monetary tends to decrease. It's quite obvious because when the customer doesn't visit your store for so long, they doesn't spend much money on your store, right? Yeah, so I observe a negative correlation, like when the recency increases, the monetary obviously tend to decrease. The next scatter plots is showing the relationship between recency and frequency. Similarly to the previous plot, I observe a negative correlation between recency and frequency as well. It's really obvious here as well because when your customer doesn't visit your store for so long, the frequency of visits also obviously tend to decrease drastically, right? Yeah, so that's what my observation here. The next scatter plot is between the relationship between frequency and monetary. Here I observe a really positive correlation between the frequency and monetary because when the frequency of visits tends to increase, the monetary value tends to increase as well. The more you visit, the more you spend money on the store. So these are the three correlations observed in the data. So then what I did is like I visualized the distribution of the primary attributes using a density plot. Here you can see what I observed here is like the density plot between the recency is tend to be skewed to the right. That I can observe here is like the recency of visits tend to be positively skewed and it's been right skewed. So the majority of the data has been concentrated towards the left and right skewed. And even in the frequency density plot, I see a right skew distribution. Followed by, I also visualize the monetary distribution through a density plot. And it also tends to be a right skewed distribution as well. So in order to handle this skew distribution in any machine learning model, you have to normalize your data so that your model is not being biased by outliers. So it's important to transform your data to handle transform the extreme values so that your data is normalized and it's not being biased towards the the outliers. So what I did is like I transformed the data by using I did some block transformations which made the distribution quite normalized comparing to the previous skew distribution. Here you can observe that here, right? The monetary data has been transformed to a almost really good normal distribution here. So the next is a recency, which is also being transformed to not exactly normal, but it tends to, you know, uh, tends to, the outliers are being removed here. It's almost really close to a normal distribution, I say. Yeah. So this is how I transform the data by removing the extreme values so that your model doesn't being affected by outliers. So next comes to the data modeling part. So uh, with the with the with the data related to segmenting your customers, I feel clustering techniques would be the right option here. So I used, but before arriving at the clustering, it is important to identify your optimal number of cluster. So I used silhouette method and a within sum of squares method to find out the optimal sum of squares, sorry, optimal number of clusters actually. So what I observed here is the silhouette method gives me 2 as optimal cluster, and within sum of squares provides me, I can see here is like uh, 3 is the optimal number of clusters. I can go for 2 or 3, but yeah, let's switch between 2 or 3. But within sum of square, I feel 3 is the optimal cluster. So yeah. So my first algorithm is basically k-means clustering. So using k-means clustering, I really got a good amount of segmentation between the customers into 3 groups. Here, what I observe here is like the groups doesn't tend to overlap with each other. They are segmented so good that I can really separate 3 groups from these 3 clusters. So what I observe here is like maybe um, the set of customers, maybe they're like underperforming category. They don't visit often. The frequency of visit is maybe less, and these set of customers are kind of average customers. Like they visit the store once in a while, but when they visit, they perform. I mean, like they purchase more and contribute to the company's revenue. And yeah, and these blue dots tends to be the supreme customers who perform well, who contribute more to the company's revenue. So these set of customers are really, their frequency of visits may be more, and they spend a lot of, they purchase a lot in their store. This may be their favorite store as well. So that's what I observe from this scatter plot of using k-means clustering. Yeah. So the next is I run a lot of diagnostic cluster plots here, which doesn't provide me much what I expect, because there's, I would say, a fair amount of result, but still I can see some overlapping within each other, between the 3 clusters, but it's fair enough, yeah. So, and even in this cluster plot, I can see there has been some overlap between the clusters. So I feel the data is not completely segmented from each other. And yeah, so So next, I'll run through some of the dynastic of cluster plots like Clara. So even I ran the Clara cluster with the optimal cluster number as 2. So even with two clusters, I see a lot of overlapping between two clusters. So I don't see this as a useful technique for segmenting my set of customers. So I don't think so. I would go for this one because as you can see, there's a lot of overlapping between those two groups from each other. Yeah. So again, yeah, I ran this cluster plot with Fanny method as well, and with three this time I ran with three optimal clusters, but still I don't find any good insight from it by segmenting the customers completely. So I find this technique is not useful for segmenting my customers from each other. So yeah. Next, I ran some of the hierarchical clustering techniques. So I arrived with this cluster dendrogram where you can see here it tends to separate into two groups, maybe two groups. Oh, that's really different from the other clusters. But yeah, what I get insight from here is like maybe these set of customers are above average contribution, and these are below average customers who contribute to the store. So yeah, maybe yeah, these are underperforming customers in the store, and these are beyond I mean above average performance by, in the store by the customers. So this is what my observation in cluster dendrograms, and yeah, so finally I choose the optimal clustering algorithm as k-means clustering as one of the optimal clustering algorithm because I observed really, you know, what I observed here is like I observed really less within sum of squares between the clusters. I'm sorry, I forgot to show you here. What I observe here is like in k-means is like the width and sum of squares between the cluster is very less, whereas the between sum of squares are really high in a way that I can completely segment the clusters from each other. I can differentiate the clusters from each other. So once I got hold of the different clusters, I mapped each record with their respective clusters and plotted this distribution. What I observed, and this is a scatter plot you're viewing here. So here you can see these belongs to cluster 1, and these are cluster 2, and these are cluster 3. So after mapping the records to its respective cluster, this is what my observation. So yeah, these are like extremely good performing customers. Like these are like average. These are below par, who doesn't contribute much to the store. Yeah, so this is what my observation overall. So in conclusion, I would conclude what I'm trying to say is like this segmentation is really useful for any business or stakeholders to arrive at their business current business and how they're performing. So what they can do with this clustering is like they can target the customers who are really performing, who are really contributing to their revenue, frequent visits, and good amount of purchase by improving them by providing them with some premium membership and and pulling them even more, and also to you know it's not that it's important to identify where your company is lagging and where the company is underperforming. Why there's been a dissatisfaction for a set of customers? It's important to address these questions so that to identify the customers who are not really into who are not who are dissatisfied with their store and target them by identifying their needs, by providing them discounts or offers, so that you can pull even the dissatisfied customers to your store and provide even more much revenue for your store. So the dissatisfaction from the customers can be many. You know, some set of customers really like the quality of the product, but maybe their service of the store is really worse. Like they don't want to, for example, customers tend to stand in the queue for a while to get their product purchased. So they do. So thinking of that, some customers believe that even though your product is really good, they don't want to stay in the line for hours and hours of spend hours of time standing in the queue. So it's important to improve your service in your store by improving the customer service, and some set of customers may feel that the product is, even though it's quality, uh, some set of customers believe that it's too pricey as well. So it's important to address those issues as well by providing them with discounts and offers, and in a way that you can satisfy every segment, every groups of customers, so that um, you know you can improve your revenue. And this segmentation will help you to forecast your business for the future, and to provide a good revenue for your company. So that's it from my end, and thank you. Thanks for joining, and hope you have a great day. Thank you.